I've always wanted you guys to know that you are what have made Descendants of Zombies so special. Because without you, there are no stories. There are no characters. There are no beautiful fashion sense. There are no dolls. There is no merch. You are what makes Descendants of Zombies happen for all of us, and you are what makes Descendants of Zombies so special, and I've never ever wanted any of you to forget it. Because you guys took this loser and made him a superstar on YouTube. You guys really allowed me the chance to come back in a whole new generation and share my story with everybody. And since sharing my story with everybody about how I became a fan of these franchises, I've become one of the most beloved voices and beloved YouTube channels in Descendants of Zombies history, in the Descendants of Zombies galaxy. Because this was never a world, it was something far greater and something much bigger. It was always a galaxy of fans where the possibilities were endless and everybody had dreams. So because everybody had dreams, you guys deserve to have those dreams realized. And I wanted to make those dreams way more possible than anybody ever had for you because they simply just show up here and they review Descendants of Zombies. I mean, let's be real, reality check. Nobody is going to subscribe to somebody who just reviews Descendants of Zombies in terms of a reaction video or some kind of aspect they're covering, like a favorite song or a favorite moment, ranking their top 5 favorite moments or their top 5 favorite songs. Everybody does that. Nobody really gives you the chance to get to know them for the person they are behind the microphone like I've been able to do. And I've shared personal stories and I've shared stories that have made me a fan of Descendants of Zombies with you so you could get to know me. And I got to know my audience because I did that. And my approach for Descendants of Zombies obviously has been very different. I will openly admit that with an open heart and an open mind. My approach towards Descendants of Zombies has obviously been very different. But that's what allowed people to feel a part of these franchises and obviously very connected to the characters and the stories they love so much. Like the first time ever Zed and Addison met each other, Red and Chloe became friends, Mal and Evie became a part of such a beautiful story and really kicked off Descendants the way it was forever and always meant to be kicked off and represented. There was so much diversity and such a cultural impact that Descendants of Zombies left behind in its wake. So because of a cultural impact, that meant that so many different cultures felt a part of this story, and they all had favorite characters, and they all had favorite moments. They all had a favorite song that they wanted to learn the choreographing to. Word by word, they remember the songs off by heart. And if you are somebody who dances to these songs every night in your room, you've worn that Descendants of Zombies Worlds Collide Tour hoodie and you have never taken it off, you probably have a Freya Sky hoodie that you also have never taken off. I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with being a fan. And there never has been anything wrong with really putting on display and letting the world know how you truly feel about these franchises and how you felt connected to them forever, having heard these stories from a guy who seemingly suffers from an itchy nose every single morning that he ever pushes record when he shares his thoughts with the world on Descendants of Zombies. So many people love this channel because I can bring these videos to life, and I've had an appreciation for how I could tell these stories for forever, because I remember being a child, 5 years old, and reading the stories of Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, and watching these movies long after I read the stories, and having a greater appreciation that I took away from them every single time. Like, I never ever forgot how special that iconic moment was in Beauty and the Beast when they had that opening scene where they showed the castle in the forest, and they explained how the castle was enchanted. And then at that moment you thought about, oh, how cool would it be to live inside of an enchanted castle and have talking candles and talking clocksmiths. It would have been really, really cool to have experienced that. Had a cup of tea, pour you up a cup of tea while you were sitting there at your kitchen table and they would be talking to you. There was something special about that story forever and always. And I remember how people criticized the story for how the Beast may have treated Belle. But nobody ever really understood how 25 minutes into the production, the Beast was offering her a more comfortable room. He was offering her something to eat. He was being very obliging towards her and very understanding because they were getting to know each other. And as time passed, they would gradually fall in love with each other more and more. There was always something to take away from your favorite Disney princess's story for how those stories kind of came to life. And everybody, no matter who they are, always had a favorite Disney princess. I've even heard people talk about how much Disney princesses and their stories kind of get on their nerves because they never really wanted to grasp the understanding of how much those stories would go on to mean to so many wonderful people's hearts, and how many hearts these stories have gone on to touch. That's how the characters from Descendants of Zombies drew inspiration, were from all these classic stories of Beauty and the Beast, Belle, of course, Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. That's how all these characters drew inspiration. And of course they had emphasis on peer pressure, because everybody goes through this kind of thing. The emphasis of peer pressure is something I've had a great deal of respect for because everybody goes through it. No matter if they choose to admit to it or not, everybody is going through the same kind of thing every day in high school. Everybody is just going through it every day in their everyday lives. But it are the friendships that we have and that we're able to maintain that help us make sense of everything going on around us. Like, have you ever noticed how you have this forever annoying friend who always calls you, who always checks on you, who always just wants to know what you're going through? That is something to really appreciate, and that is something to always, always remember, is how we have people who kind of just stay with us forever and always. And that's what princesses like Belle and Aurora often represented, and they never ever took for granted, because the people they surrounded themselves with, they considered it such an honor to have these people represent them in their lives. And each Disney princess's story stood out for the significance of friendship, love, and finding love and having it forever in your life, something that you could always depend on. I've really believed in these stories with all of my heart, and I've loved sharing my own versions of these stories with so many people who have always taken something special away from everything that I've had to share with you guys. Thousands of people have come from afar, and they've always subscribed here to this YouTube channel from a guy who suffers from an itchy nose every morning, and that's why you guys see me scratch my nose all the time every morning here, because I seem to suffer from it every morning that I ever push record, and I do apologize for that. But the thing is, guys, when you can use those aspects of your everyday life to bring your videos to life, to put smiles on people's faces, that is what makes every video that you record so special. So that you can have both an understanding and also, more importantly, most of all, an appreciation for your audience. You are the reason why I have this nostalgic wall of Disney characters behind me. You're the reason for all of my stuffed animals. You're the reason for my Mickey Mouse comforter on my bed. I do this because I love every one of you, and I know you all have stories that you just want to have seen and heard by more people than ever before. And I've just loved being a part of your stories and your world so that I could share my opinion with you guys on The Little Mermaid, who we are celebrating the 3-year anniversary since the live action was released back in 2023. And I will never ever forget how The Little Mermaid received so much criticism for being turned into a live action. A lot of people felt that movie should have never been made because, of course, Haley Bailey's presentation of The Little Mermaid was obviously very different from Jodie Benson's years ago. But you're talking to a guy who had an appreciation for both the live action and the animated classic, because I was there for both of them, and I grew up with them. And I grew up in the Disney Renaissance era, which many of you never had the honor of growing up within. But I also never had the honor to grow up within a generation that was captained by Descendants of Zombies, that had so many wonderful people fall in love with this franchise from really the ground up. Nobody really knew what quite to make of these franchises or where we were headed with these franchises. I think that a lot of people just thought that maybe Descendants was going to be one movie. It wasn't going to go as far with it as it did, and there weren't going to be as many characters. Do you guys know there have been over 30 characters in Descendants of Zombies since their inceptions? 30 characters. And when you really think about that, every one of those 30 characters individually had a story. And that's what kept the story, the entire franchise really, alive for as long as it did. So you think about Descendants 5, Book of Wonderland, and all these characters that are coming into the franchise for the first time ever. We have Pink. We have Hazel Hook, played by Kiana Romero, who are really good friends of Kylie Cantrell. So because Kylie's really good friends with them, she's worked with them before on previous projects like High School Musical, the musical, the series. We have so much to look ahead to, and we have so much to appreciate, because the one thing that will always stand out to me about Descendants 5, Book of Wonderland, is the undeniable chemistry between people such as Kylie Cantrell and Liamani Segura, because they have been there for each other every step of the way. They understand each other better than any cast that you could assemble for Descendants ever could. So because they are there for each other every step of the way and they understand each other better, that makes for a beautiful story. And that really gives us a chance to be a part of something so special that we have never had the chance to be a part of ever before in our lives. And I think as more people gradually begin to fall in love with these franchises, it really makes for a beautiful story that we're going to feel emotionally connected to, that we're never going to want to see to be over, and we're just going to want to last for forever. Because I know there are people out there who watch these videos, who love these videos with all their heart, who just wish this story could last for forever so that it would never have to be over. And that's why I've often wished that I could have been the producer behind Descendants of Zombies, because if I were the producer, I know for a fact that I would never want to say goodbye, and I would never want to let go of something so special as this. Because it brought people that much closer together. It made people feel connected to a story that was very beautiful, and by far one of the most beautiful franchises and stories that we had ever had the chance to experience. Because you think back to High School Musical, and you think back to Hannah Montana. Could you ever remember Hannah Montana or High School Musical having as powerful of a story as what Descendants of Zombies had and represented? No, you couldn't, because Hannah Montana had simply music. It never really had a story. High School Musical had simply music, because Disney was in this era where they believed music was the most effective way, and by far one of the most powerful ways to tell a story, like how they believed Wicked could only be told through the power of music. But as time went on, they implemented a script, they tied in music, and everything just fell perfectly into place. But years ago, what happened until Hollywood could really understand how to bring movies to life and franchises to life, how to tell stories, all Disney could ever use was music to tell a story, because they believed it was the most effective and by far the most powerful way to do it. What it comes down to is how much your eyes believe in what you're watching. So however much your eyes believe in what you're watching, that's what allows you to think it's real. That's what, well, in my case, to think it's real, because I did think that Descendants of Zombies was real. I was like, oh my God, this is real. So as a result of me thinking it was real, I had to support it more than I ever did, or I ever could. And I had the chance to, because I had the chance to experience something that was by far the most special thing that I ever had the chance to be a part of, because I always considered it to be an honor to be able to sit here and talk about Descendants of Zombies the way that I was able to, and to be able to bring these franchises and these stories to life. Because what that does is it allows somebody to experience emotions, and it allows you to trigger somebody's emotions even if they've never had the chance to experience every emotion in the book. Because I don't care who you are, I know you're a wonderful person, and I know you have drawn so much inspiration from these franchises and these characters, because everybody has a story, and everybody makes mistakes. Everybody is far from perfect. Lord knows that I am far from perfect. So I think that we've seen a lot of ourselves and our everyday actions and our everyday lives in these stories about peer pressure, about bullying, about acceptance. Those often were the reoccurring themes, because Disney was trying to relate to you through the content they were distributing on Disney Channel and Disney Plus, which became something far more greater. It expanded into a world, just simply from content into a world, which eventually became a universe, which eventually expanded into a galaxy. And a galaxy can really go on for light years and beyond, to quote Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. So let's take these franchises to places they've never been. Let's have conversations that we've never had before. And let's make people feel connected to these franchises more than they've ever felt, because they want to feel connected to something special, and they just want to be a part of it. I have seen so many meet and greets where fans have asked the cast if they could be a part of the Descendants of Zombies franchises, and I understand where they're coming from, because to them, that really is a beautiful existence. That really is a beautiful world of endless possibilities, and where dreams come true. And because that's where dreams come true for you, that's what really makes this so special, is because you see your dreams coming true for you in front of your very eyes. And that's why I think that people don't really have the greater appreciation or understanding for these franchises, because they don't realize that when a person watches Descendants of Zombies, they feel connected to it, because they see their dreams coming true for them right before their very eyes. That's what makes this so special. They have a favorite song they take away from the franchise. They have a favorite character because of their story, and how they proudly represented their stories, and how they felt empowered, how they felt encouraged themselves. Because oftentimes, behind the camera, Kylie Cantrell, Meg Donnelly were in doubt if they were ever good enough to be these characters. But because they were in doubt if they were ever good enough to be these characters, that's what gave them so much incentive and so much drive to be in the positions they would eventually get into. And I really believe they became stronger people because of all of us, and how much we believe in them. You know, every single time I heard Kylie Control cry on a YouTube video or an Instagram live feed, I just wanted to be there for her, to let her know that everything that she was doing was exceptionally wonderful, because so many people were drawing inspiration from her and her characters, like Tessa on Bizaardvark. Tessa was a character who was pretty much just a reoccurring role. So was Jasmine on Raven's Home. I think she was only in there for like 3 episodes of Raven's Home, just for some kind of purpose. And once that purpose was fulfilled, she never made any more appearances on Raven's Home. But the thing was, these reoccurring rules. The way Disney does this is they did this with Dove Cameron years ago. They would sprinkle her everywhere until she became introduced enough to have her own show. So when Kylie Contrell became introduced enough, she got her own show. Of course, Gabby Dern and the Unsittables. Ever before that, she hosted a YouTube channel called Hello Kylie, a YouTube channel and a show that I was very fond of because she was talking about a lot of my favorite shows at the time, Sam and Cat, Victorious. I was a huge fan, for those of you who remember me from 15 years ago, of shows like Sam and Cat and Victorious because of the potential that I saw coming from those shows and how much Ariana Grande and Jeanette McCurdy could bring characters like Sam Puckett and Cat Valentine to life, some of the all-time favorite characters of kids from generations past and generations of old. But one of the most beautiful things about Paramount Plus and one of the most beautiful things about Disney Plus are they allow you to go back in time and they allow you to experience and kind of relive through generations that once were and what Disney has really come into. Because what Disney has really come into are its own. We have the acquisition of Marvel, the acquisition of networks like Fox and ABC and National Geographic, and everything really seems to be falling into place for Disney in ways that it never did before. So because everything is falling into place for Disney, we have so much to be excited about for the forthcoming futures of your favorite stars, and we have so much to look ahead to because not only do we have Descendants 5 and Zombies 5, we have Camp Rock 3. And these three franchises are coming together for one huge concert experience in the fall of 2026, and we are going to get into all that because we have so much to be excited about. A brand new soundtrack forthcoming for Descendants 5, including a brand new ballad from Red, more amplification on the story of Red and Chloe and how much further they are going. I know a lot of people are feeling that Red and Chloe are finally going to fall apart in Descendants 5 with Wonderland. I don't know where. I don't have any idea where these rumors are coming from or what kind of speculation is running rampant about the villain. Of course, Mannix Hatter is going to become evil for the first time ever. And coming up here tonight, I will break down these rumors for you extensively to help you make sense of what may be happening here, because I think it's pretty much just rumors people are beginning to run wild with because they want everybody's imagination to kind of be skeptical and run wild within a month before Descendants 5 Book Wonderland. I will get into all that tonight as I cordially invite you to join me for another podcast, which will happen just after sunset this evening, where we'll once again talk about everything related to Descendants and Zombies. So it's a conversation that I hope you will join me for. We will get into all that, cover all the necessary topics we have to for Descendants and Zombies as we etch ever closer to the premieres of Descendants 5 and Zombies 5. And I know for a lot of people, for Zombies 5 happening in 2027, that feels like forever away, but we'll get to all that and we'll break down everything we have to as we celebrate the legacies of your favorite stars and their stories, which I felt so honored and humbled to be a part of. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of both your stories and your worlds, because it's been such a profound honor of mine to join you every single time that we have these conversations about Descendants and Zombies. From my heart to yours, as always and forever, thank you so much for having watched these videos.